keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. Another news update because it's 49ers playoff time, but lots of news because the 49ers are a very attractive team. So other teams are reaching out and wanting to snag personnel from the 49ers, as well as the 49ers wanting to get their personnel onto the field for this pivotal game against the Dallas Cowboys.
Accurate, Ant. Very, very accurate. And as you can tell, we're back to normal. No symptoms, Ant. Negative tests for the third time in 2 weeks. 5 days for the CDC. Thank you, CDC guy. We're rolling over here. We're following COOV protocols.
Alex has been fully activated from the COVID list.
The COOV,
and he's ready to roll. We miss no days.
No,
we storm through illnesses. We storm through respiratory problems. They have nothing on us. We're ready to roll.
And we're ready to roll. We're the beacons of health. Big yikes.
I don't know about all that.
Big yikes, Ant. Definitely not the beacons of health. But look, we're healthy right now, and that's all that matters. And speaking of healthy right now, and looks like Trey Sermon is healthy right now because he's been activated off of IR. Man, that segue was just absolutely... Could it be any cleaner than that?
I don't know.
Should we just officially retire right now and end the podcast? Can it get better than this?
Probably, yes.
Okay, well, if it can get better, then we're not going to retire.
It was about Trey Sermon.
It was about Trey Sermon, but look, he's healthy. He's been activated off of IR. That means he's going to be available this weekend. Do you foresee a role for Trey Sermon other than special teams?
No, I don't. And I mean, they had to activate him, right? It was getting towards the end of his practice window.
Correct.
They needed to bring him back. This doesn't really go out there and make me think that this wasn't something they always planned to do. But I don't think I see Trey Sermon, doing anything in this offense right now. I think that this is a wait and see for next year and see what they can, build through the offseason, build for next year. Because right now, Elijah Mitchell's the bell cow back. And even Jeff Wilson Jr. is not getting very much spin. It's Elijah Mitchell, and it's Elijah Mitchell all the time. The only time you're not seeing Elijah Mitchell is when you got Deebo Samuel in the backfield or you got Jermichael Hasty in the third down back situations where he can catch the ball in the backfield. That's not something that Trey Sermon does well right now. Does he have those capabilities? Yes. Can he develop those even further in the offseason and into next year? Yes, he can. But I think right now for what the 49ers are doing on offense, Trey Sermon does not fit the bill. So I think even if he is, or he was activated off the IR, it doesn't mean he's going to be active for the game. So I think this could be a situation where it's one of those things where it's a good sign. He gets to get out there and, he's practicing with the football team. But ultimately, I don't know how much he's going to pay dividends during the games, the playoffs.
And that is completely fair. I just don't see... I don't see that for Mr. Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell, excuse me, Trey Sermon. I don't see this being something that is going to be the case, and I don't even know if he'll be on the active 53-man roster going forward. He may be one of the healthy scratches. Who knows? Who knows what's going to end up happening with Trey Sermon? There's a lot of options for the 49ers. His role as a running back option is great for the Niners, but right now it's Elijah Mitchell, it's Jeff Wilson Jr., it's Jermichael Hasty, and Trey Sermon doesn't really fit really into the backfield right now and the plans for the backfield at the very least. So we'll see what happens with all of this with Trey Sermon. I don't know if this is a negative for him. I don't know if this is necessarily a positive, but this is something that it is what it is. It's kind of a wash at the moment. Elijah Mitchell has seized that brass ring and seized control of his backfield, and that's the guy we're going to roll with, barring injury or barring there's something being actually wrong with him. I don't expect to see Trey Sermon out on the football field for the 49ers in the playoffs, and that is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
I think, I don't think it's a bad thing for Trey Sermon. I just think that Trey Sermon needs some more time to develop. He needs to learn how to run the way that Kyle Shanahan wants him to run, the way Bobby Turner has been wanting him to run the football, and so far he hasn't figured that out this season, but he's going to have more time, and it's all about development. And just because somebody struggles in their rookie season is, not the kind of back that everyone anticipated, doesn't mean they don't eventually figure it out. So I'm hopeful that he can get it done during the offseason, get some extra work in, and maybe some of the things that Bobby Turner is teaching him is going to click. You've seen Elijah Mitchell's growth during the season. That is a rookie that was able to take his skill set and then implement what the 49ers wanted him to do and take it to another level. I think everyone should actually pray that we don't see Trey Sermon for the playoffs, because that means Elijah Mitchell stays healthy. That means Jeff Wilson Jr. stays healthy. Those are the best situation for the 49ers in the playoffs.
Absolutely the case, Ant. It really truly is. But we got to talk about other things as well that are going on with the San Francisco 49ers, other than Trey Sermon's situation, because there are more impactful things for this team's immediate future right here, right now. And the first and foremost being that Mike McDaniels has been requested to have an interview with the Miami Dolphins for their head coaching vacancy, Ant. They put in the request yesterday morning around, it looks like 8:51 in the morning is when it got reported by Tom Pelissero. I don't like this at all, but I knew this was coming. Mike McDaniels has been with Kyle Shanahan since his days in Houston. He was with him in Houston, he was with him in Washington, Cleveland, and Atlanta. He slowly worked his way up until now he is the offensive coordinator. Yes, Shanahan calls the game, the game and the plays on game day. But McDaniels is a big part of putting together these plans. He's been with Kyle for a long time. He's a Yale grad. This is a highly intelligent, quirky kind of guy. Look, I don't know if Miami's going to be the right fit, but this isn't going to be the last team that comes calling.
No, I think a lot of teams are going to come calling. And the reason they're going to come calling is we've seen this work out. Because young offensive minds is the way the NFL has been going, whether that is Zach Taylor up there with the Bengals, Matt LaFleur with Green Bay, Sean McVay with the Rams, or Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. It seems to be working. So going away from defensive coaches is something that they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't hear from Denver at some point, especially him being from that area and going, being a part of that organization early on with Mike Shanahan. That's how he got his start. So I do believe that there's going to be teams calling, and he's a very good offensive mind. Somebody that when you hear him talk, you're right, it's a little quirky, but the one thing that he has going for him, not only is he highly intelligent, but he has the respect of his players. I've never heard a player come out and say anything but great things about Mike McDaniel. I think he would be an excellent hire, but I just don't want him to be gone because I do want him in the meeting rooms of San Francisco. I would like to see him help Kyle Shanahan through the first full season of Trey Lance operating this offense. That would be the best situation because Mike McDaniel is an absolute wizard when it comes to the running game. The things that he does are hard to duplicate. So I do not want to lose him, but I think it's inevitable that we lose Mike McDaniel and Demeco Ryans at some point.
100%, and I 100% agree with you on that. And look, I think of the teams that we just said, right, and brought up, the Broncos is actually the team that actually makes sense the most. Number one, they don't have a young quarterback that they've drafted. Yes, they drafted Drew Lock a few years ago, but Drew Lock has shown that he's probably not going to work out in this league. But they do have two really solid running backs there in Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. So you have two guys that you can already start your backfield with going in over there with a team that also already has a pretty solid defense and a pretty stout defensive line. So it actually kind of makes sense the Denver Broncos does as an organization that he can kind of get into and eventually find his quarterback of the future to make that team whatever it needs to be. Look, I'm hoping that the Broncos drop the ball on this because that would actually be a team I'm worried about. I'm less worried about the Miami Dolphins. I just don't know if that's going to be a fit for him. But Dolphins-wise, it makes sense. Young quarterback and maybe even making a move for a franchise quarterback, bringing an offensive mind to work with the offense and the pieces you have there because you've had a defense that showed that also for the Dolphins it could do some big things as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Mike McDaniel kind of leans on Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan had a thought process on what kind of job he wanted to take. You've seen a little bit of a struggle from Robert Saleh when he went, to the New York Jets, the situation that he's been put in. Mike McDaniel might want to wait for the right situation. That might not be this year. I mean, it would be hard to turn down a head coaching job, especially in Florida with a young quarterback and a defense that has been built with a lot of young draft picks. Let's be honest, Flores did a great job there. I'm a
little surprised.
I'm really surprised that they did fire him. To me, that didn't make a lot of sense. I thought he was a good coach. He beat New England twice. He finished above 500 for 2 seasons in a row. It doesn't make sense. I also don't want to lose McDaniel and Demeco Ryans for another selfish reason. I don't want to lose any more of our assistant coaches because every time that you lose one of these coordinators as a head coach, they take some assistants with them. You saw it with LaFleur and Benton going, with Robert Saleh. Eventually, a secondary coach went as well. This is what happens, and you're as good as your coaching staff, and eventually you just keep getting picked over. This is what happened to the 49ers in the late 80s, early 90s, as Mike Holmgren left, Mike Shanahan left. Every single time somebody leaves, they take someone with them, Ray Rhodes, and your staffs completely start to change, and that's what the 49ers are really built on right now is development. Hopefully they can hold on these guys for one more year until Kyle Shanahan can really institute some plans to be able to have coaches to come back these guys up.
Correct. And we were about a week early and a few days early and talking about Demeco Ryans because Kyle Shanahan has now come out and said he's worried. He's worried about Demeco Ryans leaving because someone asked him, do you think that he has head coaching qualities? And Kyle Shanahan was essentially like, yeah, he has head coaching qualities. No, duh, this man has head coaching qualities. They've been saying this now for a few years, him and Robert Saleh both, saying that, Demeco Ryans was a guy that was an up-and-coming and that everyone needed to be watching for because he's going to be a future head coach one day. You don't say those things before he's even a coordinator if you don't believe him. And Demeco Ryans has showed it yet again this year, why he's so special, why he's so talented. The brain he has on him and the way he's been able to scheme up and disguise defenses is almost like his playing days have helped him a whole heck of a lot and really put him ahead of the curve because he doesn't have, the decades of coaching experience that a lot of these guys get before they become coordinators. He doesn't have that necessarily in the same regard. And so look, Demeco Ryans has been an absolute godsend for this defense this year. Losing Robert Saleh before the year, a lot of places, a lot of sites, everything. The Niners are going to take a big step back defensively because you've lost Robert Saleh. And we were kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if we believe that.
Yeah.
Demeco Ryans has showed why.
Yeah, and actually the 49ers took a step forward. The rushing defense is better than it's ever been before. There's a reason these guys are top 5 in overall defense. They're very good. The only thing that we got going for us, Alex, is that for some reason this league is trending away from hiring defensive coaches.
True.
They want to hire young offensive minds. We've seen Robert Saleh go through a couple of cycles where he got some opportunities to go interview and they didn't pan out until eventually he landed with the Jets. Let's hope that Demeco Ryans does get some interviews. I think he deserves those. But let's hope that he goes ahead and stay at least for another season. Develops a little bit, but this is the same sort of thing that Kyle Shanahan did with Robert Saleh. Because as much as Kyle Shanahan wants these guys to stay, he's selfish that way. He'd love for these guys to stay. He also wants to see them all be successful, and he knows that it's important for them if that's their dream is to be a head coach. That he wants to see them be able to realize that dream. So he's doing a good job of propping Demeco Ryans up in this situation and telling everyone that he does have those characteristics and traits that are needed to be a head coach in the NFL. And I think at some point it's going to happen. Just hopefully it doesn't happen in 2022. Let's push it to 2023.
Agreed with you, and Kyle also agrees. He said, so hopefully for my sake and the Niners' sake, they let him, Demeco Ryans, get a few more years here, but I already know that he's ready, and I feel the same way about Mike McDaniel. The ideal situation is at least 2023. Yeah. Get me to 2023 before I have to move on from these two because it would impact this team because you're going to have a lot of guys that are get shuffled around. You have to elevate some people. And that means bringing in new faces as well and being able to turn this coaching staff over and keep the production high. This is one thing that I don't think Bill Belichick gets enough credit for, Ant, is his coaching staff there because the success that they were having for as long as they were having it, that staff was completely being turned over. It felt like every few years. Coach going to college, coach going over to be a head coach somewhere else. I mean, it was consistent and constant.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you're a good football team. When you're a good organization, you lose people. You got Adam Peters, Mike McDaniel, Demeco Ryans are all possibilities of guys who could leave. Last year it was Martin Mayhew. He was gone. It was Robert Saleh. He was gone. This is going to happen. This is the turnover that's going to happen from a good organization. So even though on appearances the 49ers squeaked into the playoffs, that's the way I've seen it framed. It appears the rest of the NFL believes that they got there for a good reason, that they're a good blueprint that the other teams want to build off of. Interesting. So I think this is a good sign. It shows that there's a strong organization. And hopefully John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan have been, waiting and preparing for this situation. They were completely prepared when they lost Robert Saleh. They had Demeco Ryans. They were prepared when they lost Mayhew. They elevated Adam Peters. Let's see what they do now if they're prepared. In case they lose Mike McDaniel, in case they lose Demeco Ryans. I don't think they're as prepared for these two situations as they were their predecessors, because I do believe that they anticipated these guys being around. Adam Peters, on the other hand, I think they probably have thought of this because he was almost gone last year.
He was. They elevated him, I think, in the hopes of being able to hopefully entice him to stick around for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And who knows? And maybe they've already had a discussion with him and had a talk.
Yeah.
Right? Where there's a timeline in place, and this was the first step along the timeline to him to eventually becoming the general manager down the road. And just said, hey, if something else better opens up, obviously we're going to let you go interview, and obviously you can take it if you'd like. But we have a plan in place for you to become the GM here and for you to run this organization and make those decisions in the front office. So who knows? We don't know what those discussions are behind closed doors, and they're not just going to come out and have those. conversations in public.
Well, kind of. I mean, the one thing we do know is not what's happening behind closed doors, but what is happening right in front of our eyes. And the elevation prevents them from being able to take another job. By putting Mike McDaniels as the offensive coordinator, he can't make a lateral move and take an offensive coordinator job somewhere else. Same with Adam Peters. He couldn't go be an assistant GM somewhere else. So what it does is it makes it kind of more defined, right? He has to be a head coach for Mike McDaniel, or Adam Peters has to be a general manager. Those are the jobs they can take with other teams. If not, when there's a request, the 49ers could actually deny that request for interview. They don't have to allow it because it's a lateral move, and Kyle Shanahan has already proved he will definitely deny lateral move overtures from other teams.
Well, it doesn't make sense to let someone that you trust, value, and that you're willing to pay and want on your coaching staff to move laterally to someone else.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make sense. If they're going to move on, then they need to be moving on and taking a step forward in their career, because that's what you not only want for that person, but if they're going to go have success somewhere else, you want them to have success and take the next step.
Yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniel, famously, they wanted him in Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury was still going to call the plays. They just wanted him to come in and for the offensive mind of being an offensive coordinator. Do I think that McDaniel would have taken it? No, I don't think he would have. But that's what they were trying to prevent. And they did a good job of doing that. So let's see what, I mean, at some point, right, we're going to start losing more guys.
It's going to happen.
Just hopefully it's not this season.
Hopefully it's not this season, and hopefully there's a contingency plan in place to replace them. That's what you gotta hope for. And speaking of contingency plans, Ant, this is not an announcement I'm happy to make, because this means, Ant, that I am not currently the Lock It Up Season 2 champ, because our editor made a mistake in calculating totals. That clown. What an absolute clown you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it. You belong on Big Yikes. But look, there was a mistake with scores. Because of that, it really kind of mucked up Lock It Up in terms of the way people picked. People picked games, and we all talked. People picked games in a way that they may not have picked games had we realized that Lock It Up was a lot closer than we thought. So we thought the only way for this to be fair, for everyone to have a chance, because at the end of the season, the last few weeks, Ant, everyone would have had a chance. Me, you, and Steve's, that is. We're going to have a triple threat match this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This Sunday, Super Wild Card Sunday, is going from...
weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Super Wild Card weekend, Ant, is now becoming Super Lock It Up weekend, as well, as the three of us are going to be competing for the Season 2 championship in a three-way, picking every single game in Super Wild Card weekend. The person who finishes with the best results, Ant, is going to walk away with the Season 2 Lock It Up crown.
Yeah.
Or technically title belt. And there is going to be a tiebreaker game in case someone finishes tied or all three of us finish tied, and it's going to be the Niners-Cowboys game. The final score, the score that we predict for that game, essentially whoever has closest to the actual score is going to walk away with the crown.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things I think it's going to be fun. I think
Absolutely.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So out of chaos comes beauty. This is one of those things that's going to be great. This is going to be the first ever playoff edition of Lock It Up. I'm excited for it. I know Steve's is excited for it.
There was a rock gif.
There definitely was. He was like, just bring it. He's ready to be on it. He thought that he wasn't going to have an opportunity to get the top of the mountain until next year. But he's going to have an opportunity this time. So we'll see what happens.
The three of us do.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I mean, it was a super tight race. It came down to the end, and ultimately, we don't know who the victor would have been just because of some of the things that happened. So it was a virtual tie. So now we're going to go and see what happens. And this should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. I think that
I'm excited and disappointed in it.
Oh, I can understand why. Yeah. I mean,
it's fine.
You still might come away with the victory.
Here's the thing, right? Just another obstacle, another piece of adversity that I'm gonna have to overcome if I want that Lock It Up championship.
Yeah, it's true, and it could be just a little crack in the door for Steve's or for me to just come through and give you some sweet chin music.
Absolutely, I mean it could happen.
Yeah,
look, it could happen. Steve's had a great tweet last week, by the way, as well. Me, you, and him. You as Hunter Hearst Hemsley, him as Shawn Michaels, and me obviously as John Chena. Enjoying sitting atop the mountain, competing, for the championship that was Lock It Up. It was a good tweet. It was accurate, and even more accurate, knowing what we know now.
Yeah, and I mean the only reason that Horst and the 49ers Cutback crew, we will probably get picks from the Cutback crew.
We can.
But you will not be competing for the championship. However, because you were so far back, there's no way to.
There was no. There was no chance.
But the Lock It Up had, the Cutback crew did a very good job on Lock It Up in their inaugural season.
Dude, are you kidding me? Season 1?
Yeah.
They ended up, I think it was before the picks got messed up. I think we had them at like 7 games over 500. And I think it ends up being a little less than that, is what the final number ends up being. But still, I mean, we were hovering around 500 in our first years of Lock It Up.
Well, it was also COVID.
I mean, there was that.
You didn't know who was going to play from week to week.
The coup was real.
And whenever you pick the 49ers in a season like 2020, every single game, you're probably going to lose a few.
Accurate. And we lost more than a few.
Yeah.
We lost more than a few.
7 of my losses this year are 49ers.
That's a lot of losses. It's a lot of losses.
I don't know why they didn't go 17-0. Come on, Gary. They got to get it done for us.
Gary, I know. Get on the Niners. Get on the Niners for that, Ant. But look, basically, we have a triple threat match, and it's not a tables match, Steve. Sorry, it's not. It's a regular triple threat match.
Yeah.
But no holds are barred. No holds are barred. It is for it all, for the championship. We'll find out what happens, and we'll make those picks in the preview show coming up on Friday. So stay tuned for that. You got that to enjoy this week as well. We went from what was just going to be us picking playoff games and willy-nilly to a lot at stake in Super Wild Card weekend, and Super Wild Card preview show, I guess, is what this is now turning into, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for the 49ers for making the playoffs. It's going to make things a lot more fun coming up on the Wild Card weekend. Last year, I just sat back, of course, no pressure. This time, Sunday at 1:30, there's going to be a lot of pressure for the 49ers to go beat the Cowboys, because I know you're aware of the 90s, Alex, but I felt the 80s, and then I was really brought up in knowing about the 70s because of my father. He talked to me a lot about it, and so I want this really bad. I want the 49ers to beat the Cowboys, and there's a lot that I feel on this, so we need to get it done. Do not want to lose to the Cowboys. Living in California, there's one thing you can know for sure. You don't want to lose to the Cowboys. You don't want to lose to the Raiders.
Nope.
Those things are unacceptable, and if you do, you are never going to hear the end of it.
No, there's a reason why the Cowboys are somehow referred to as America's team, and they have fans everywhere. They really do. And California is one of those places where there are fans everywhere, Ant.
Well, they have training camp in California.
They do have training camp.
Yeah.
They do have training camp in California. So look, Niners Cowboys this weekend. That's going to be good. Super Wild Card weekend. Going to be fun now because we even have more at stake with Lock It Up moving into the preview show, Ant, and basically the final battle.
Yeah.
The final battle for the championship belt. But look, Jerry Jones, Ant. Jerry Jones had some comments. Jerry Jones a little concerned about this game this weekend. A little surprised to hear good old Jerry talking about this and saying that he has some concern, and he's concerned. We've got to factor everything in. He said they're going to be a real mess to deal with out there on Sunday, was the direct quote about the 49ers. He's very confident about his team, but he knows that the Niners are confident that we've won a lot of big games. They play in a tough division, all of the fun stuff that we've been talking about. So he is worried, and he's also worried about the faithful showing up in AT&T Stadium in Jerry's world, because they are going to show up.
Oh, he should be worried. If you go on your Twitter timeline, if you use Twitter, just scroll. You will see tickets bought, flight booked, see you in Dallas. Tickets bought, flight booked, see you in Dallas. It is continued all throughout Twitter. 49er fans and 49er faithful are going to show up in a big way. They are not going to be able to prevent the 49er fans from buying tickets. Anytime you have 100,000 seats stadium, there's going to be people there that value the bottom dollar and value money more than they do going to that football game. There are going to be some fair weather Dallas fans that would rather sell their tickets and then sit at home and watch the game. I think the 49ers faithful is going to show up in a big way, and Jerry should be worried because anytime that a team shows up and they're able to punch you in the mouth and you're not the best at stopping the run, that is a recipe for success. This game could get shortened in a big way, and Dak Prescott could be 1 or 2 mistakes away for the 49ers just running away from it, because this run game is very good. Of course, I don't want to go ahead and make a prediction now. I don't want to get into my key matchups or anything like that. I'm going to do that later in the week because I have been watching Dallas Cowboys football, and I will say they're a talented football team.
Absolutely.
They have good run. They have a good running back. They have some good receivers. I've seen Ced Wilson did some things, against the Eagles, so they have some weapons. But I just think that the 49ers are a bad matchup for the Cowboys looking at it early. So I understand why he's saying it could get messy. It's going to get real messy. The question is, can the 49ers come out of that mess clean? And if they can, then they're going to have a real good opportunity to win this game.
100%, Ant. He was bragging on the Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan yesterday morning, talking about how yes, he doesn't control who buys tickets though, Ant, but the Cowboys have the highest resale value of all ticket prices in the NFL right now. So he thinks that was going to curtail the fans, the type of fans that show up. He said, "Look, I think it's a great atmosphere. You'd be really missing the sensitivity around the Cowboys right now to think that." In my mind, we're not really concerned at all about opposing fans. It's going to be a Cowboys home game. There's no question about it. We'll see.
Yeah, like I said, I saw a literal comment, and I brought this up on one of our other episodes. Somebody said
yesterday's.
Yeah, somebody said, "Hey, it's going to cost $1,000 a ticket," and the guy said, "Say less, give me 10." You're not scaring the 49er fans away with the price of the tickets. The 49ers versus Cowboys is a real rivalry for the fans. Anyone that is close to our age, Alex, and older, understand this rivalry and know what it means.
27 years, Ant, they've been waiting to restore this. 27 years.
Everyone wants this to happen. And I think it's only fitting that Tony Romo is calling the game with Jim Nantz.
Is it happening?
It's happening.
Let's go, Jim!
Yeah.
Here we go, Jim!
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so pumped now.
I am curious if he's going to be able to hold off. Troy Aikman struggles holding off his Cowboy fandom.
Dude, there's no way that Tony Romo is going to be able to hold off his Cowboys fandom. There is no way. And you know what, Ant? I am all here for it.
Yeah.
Give me Tony Romo slandering the Niners on national television. I'm all good for it.
I wonder if he takes a Troy Aikman approach and does a little cheer for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Maybe.
They're very familiar with each other.
Well, they're very familiar with each other, and I mean,
the kindred spirits, man.
Not only kindred spirits, but I mean, Tony dealt with some very similar with the Dak Prescott situation.
Yeah.
And him being injured at the end of his career, not available. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. Maybe there was a soft spot in Tony Romo's.
But I do like that
Cowboy
we're getting a very good group, a very good commentary group.
Absolutely.
It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be Niners, Cowboys, Sunday football, 1:30. I mean, I'm used to seeing Sunday, 1:30, but it was always NFC Championship stuff.
That's happening.
The only thing that would be better is if we could get both teams in their 94 throwbacks.
Oh, please.
If the
NFL doesn't go to both teams and be like, hey, you need to wear the 94. You don't think so?
No, the NFL wants their teams to wear their traditional colors when it comes to playoffs and Super Bowl.
Come on.
Niners petitioned to wear the all whites, and they were denied for the Super Bowl against Kansas City. This is not what they want. They want traditional colors and a traditional feel for the Super Bowl.
Silly. Wait. Tradition? Is there anything more traditional than the 49ers and the Cowboys in the playoffs?
No, but I don't know. Is that more traditional? I mean, that's pretty good, though.
Pretty traditional.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty traditional.
But, I mean, we have seen the red and gold against we had the 81, the catch.
No, I know.
I mean, it was the traditional colors back then. It was just that 90s version. That's just where we're more accustomed to, especially you. I think that's the first time you really saw those games.
I mean, that was not only the first time I ever saw those games, it's the first time I ever saw those uniforms.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they were before.
I'll be honest. 92 and 93 were miserable for me. Absolutely miserable losses.
See, this is what I mean. I was 2 and 3.
I was going to watch parties, and it was half 49er fans, half Cowboy fans.
Oh, God.
And it was absolute, I mean, just chaos. And I'm a younger guy, at the time.
Yeah.
But old enough, I'm double digits. I'm old enough to know what is going on, and I'm cheering for my team. 94 49ers over the Cowboys is one of the defining moments of me as a fan, where I got that moment. When Steve is running around that field, psychologically, I was running with him. That was a big moment. I mean, that's huge. So
I'm trying to remember my first moment like that. My first moment with that, where I felt like we finally got one over. Of course, we don't end up going to that Super Bowl that year, but it was the Smith against the Saints. The
2011.
The grab. The grab was the first time that I've physically remember it. That one, and obviously the catch two, only because of I say Javier, but only because of Xavier's "suck at cheeseheads" comment
as you're at the game.
Yeah, as you're at the game. But see, that's different. That was at the game. That was a witnessing moment. But being at home, that was the first one. First time I felt like, man, this team could actually go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that they're because it's been so long that the fans aren't going to forget.
No,
but it definitely, the franchises are in different states. The teams are different. So it's gonna have a little bit of a different feel. But the fan bases are gonna feel it.
I think the Niners, look, the Cowboys, both organizations have someone that remembers these times. You have Jerry Jones, who remembers these rivalries and understands the importance of this game and how big this game could be. And then you have Kyle Shanahan on the other end, who literally was on the sidelines, grew up with this.
Yeah.
He grew up with this rivalry and what this rivalry means. So you do have two pillars of the organization right now who have a great grasp and understanding of this. The problem is the everyone else underneath, right? The actual players themselves have never possibly experienced this in their lifetime. And most of them probably weren't Cowboys or Niners fans growing up, so they may not even fully grasp the tension that is mounting.
Yeah, I think some of them are going to get accustomed to it.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Since you brought that up, the Rams rivalry was a real thing as well.
True.
In the 80s especially, the 49ers versus Rams, those games were, they would battle in the regular season, they would battle in the playoffs, and that has been completely renewed right now.
True.
Even though it's one-sided right now with the Niners dominating,
True.
Deebo Samuel legitimately does not like the Rams at all.
Or
you see his face, he's completely locked in. He does not like the disrespect. There is an absolute hatred for the 49ers.
Did you see,
Rams.
by the way, too, we didn't bring this up or talk about it. Did you see that Aaron Donald, they had a presser before the game, and someone asked him about Deebo Samuel, and he made who's that? No. But then proceeded to not answer the question about Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, you know what he knows now? Who Deebo Samuel is.
He knows who Deebo Samuel is, and he just don't want to admit that he knows who Deebo
You know who
Samuel
he also
is.
Doesn't know who he is? Daniel Brunskill. Daniel Brunskill owns his ass.
Daddy Brunskill. Oh my gosh, you just been a swear.
I did. Yeah, we've already said that one's okay on the show.
That's true. We have said that. It still catches me off guard.
Yeah, it's intensity, man. This is playoffs. We got to get amped up.
It's a good thing these aren't made for children.
No, why would it be made for children, Alex?
No one would watch.
Well, considering our fan base is definitely not children.
It's accurate.
Unless you're
we would be really bad. We would be really bad at the podcast.
Unless you're going to start doing Baby Shark. That's the only thing I understand. But yeah, this is going to be a high intensity week. The Cowboys thing runs deep, and maybe it's not for the players, but the fans who remember all the times, especially the ones that went through the 70s. I have a lot of respect for those people that had to live through those early 70s games, the 11-point comeback by the Cowboys and Staubach to win that game. The Niners were up 11 with 2 minutes left. You talk about an ultimate debacle. And the fact that the Cowboys are able to get it done and get to another Super Bowl. This is what the 49ers fans struggle with. The 70s. Then in the 80s, it felt like we got over the Cowboys. We did it. We're finally over the Cowboys, only to have the Cowboys reemerge and come up again in the 90s.
And then both teams fall into irrelevance. In the 2000s?
Yeah, but that early part of the 90s was complete Niners-Cowboys. The Super Bowl every single year was the NFC Championship game. Yep. It didn't matter who won that game. They were winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is going to be – I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to be amped up for it. Give us the boys. Yeah, we might be careful what we wish for. They're a good football team, but really, anyone you played, it was going to be careful what you wish for because they're all good.
Accurate and indeed. Accurate indeed. And, Jerry, you should be concerned. But, look, it's going to be another body bag type game potentially, Ant.
Get him a body bag.
I'm all for getting the body bags, man. It's all about the body bags. This team needs to execute and play at a high level, Ant, and I believe they're going to. And Cutback crew, let us know what you think about everything we just talked about. Sermon being activated from IR, McDaniels and Demeco Ryans potentially being head coaching options as soon as this year. God, please no. Jerry Jones's comments about resale tickets. This being a Cowboys home game and nothing to worry about. And then him just being concerned about the Niners and the things that they've done this year, as well as Super Wild Card weekend and lock it up being meshed all into one triple threat match for the crown. Are you excited about it? Let us know who you think is going to win down below in the comment section right now. And then also go vote yourself on the lock it up this week as well, just to see how you guys do and fare this week in the Super Wild Card weekend. 6 matchups, 6 polls. I got a lot of work to do, and Mr. Editor needs to get better at math and has work to do, and got tons of great content still all week long here on the 49ers Cutback.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting week. We're building towards this game. I'm looking forward to getting all into it and just breaking down the matchups and what the 49ers need to do to beat Dallas Cowboys. And I think there's an avenue to do that, but they're a good football team. They've been playing very efficient all season. So the Niners not going to be able to go in there and play a B caliber game. I know Dan Orlovsky said they could play a B game and still beat the Cowboys. I don't think that's the case. I think they need to play their A game, but if they do play their A game, they have a potential to win. That's a good sign for the 49ers. Let's bring it on, because the only thing better than playoff, content is a second week of playoff content. So 49ers, get it done.
Question. Is the only thing better than a second week of playoff content NFC Championship content?
Absolutely.
And then Super Bowl content?
Absolutely.
Good to know. Hey, 49ers, let's do this thing, baby.
Yeah.
4 games to do it. First one is up. You got the Cowboys this Sunday. Cutback crew. We'll see you on the next one. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.